Hello, it's Kim from Wildcard Wanderer and welcome back to my channel. I've been a busy bee lately, jumping from one task to another, so it feels good whenever I can sit down to paint. Today, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone because I'll be using a whole new medium, something that I haven't used before. I'll be using the Miya Himi Gouache. I know you're probably telling me right now that I'm totally late from the 2020 trend. These paints suddenly got popular in YouTube and Instagram last year, but it's only now that I'm gonna try it. I'll also be using a bigger palette for today, and I've sketched a little slightly whimsical door. I hope you enjoy today's painting video. I've seen a lot of artists mixing them with water and stirred the paints to achieve the jelly-ish consistency, but honestly, I feel overwhelmed with gooey paints and would prefer to use it as I would with watercolors. I like it that the paint can be thinned down into a watery wash, taking it easy at first. It's my very first time as well to paint entirely with gouache. I usually used gouache before to reinforce the thickness or intensity of the colors I wanted for my watercolor paintings. As I lessen the amount of water I add to the paint, I can easily feel the buttery, sticky consistency, which is very satisfying, I think. It's also quick to spot the vibrance of the colors once the paint touches the paper. The next challenging thing is the color mixing. I can tell that the mixing technique with gouache is a bit different with watercolors. And of course, since it's opaque, I start with darker colors that will establish the color blockings of my painting. Unlike watercolors, I'm being required to fill in all of the spaces with gouache. Leaving the paper white doesn't work with that. There is also a change with choice of brushes. Even though gouache is a water-based medium like watercolors, I'd still suggest not to use your watercolor brushes with these paints to protect your brushes. I used more flat and angular brushes for this because they're quite more fit with the thick and heavy quality of the paint. If you're more used to thin and light colors, the thick and very opaque quality of these paints can be a little overwhelming, but it's not comparable to acrylic paint though. The only similarity I noticed is that I had to pre-mix most of my layers of colors. Unlike with watercolors, I usually mix and blend as I go. The answer to the question, why is it only now that I was able to try these famous paints, is that I simply didn't have the need for it. And this set that I'm using in this video was actually purchased by my mom. I can be an impulsive shopper at weird times, but on most days, I see to it that I only buy things and stuff that I really need. So yeah, thanks to my ever loyal sponsor since birth, my mom. Anyway, she has an Instagram page which you can find at Lady Blue Jay Art. I'll include a link down below. I'm not sure though from which store did she order this set, but it's a lot more affordable recently than it was when I first saw it last year. Plus, each cup are really full and heavy loaded, so buying this is a really good deal, I promise. And I definitely recommend you trying it. The next thing I did was I created a lot of textures by using dry brush techniques. Watering down gouache can also work, but I found that intense colors can be more achieved when it's being used with less water. I'm also impressed that despite mixing more than 3 colors together, the paints can still manage not to get muddy and dark, and the colors still look bright and fresh. Another thing, unlike most comments I've read, I don't find any difficulty in layering the paints. Some artists said that if you try to add a layer of color on top of another, the layer underneath tends to be reactivated with water and the colors get mixed together. So far, I didn't experience that. The paints layer really well, and the light colors here, such as yellow over brown, still appears opaque and stands out. I'm also quite impressed with how crisp and opaque the white is. I also love that it doesn't create a glossy, shiny finish on the surface. It retains a matte finish on the paper, which is quite good. The only downside with gouache is that it has the tendency to look flat. Creating dimension can be more challenging with gouache than with watercolors. The secret, I think, is to mix more variations of shades and always show intense contrast against the highlights. Also, don't forget the old magic trick called blending. Overall, I definitely recommend Miya Himi Gouache. No wonder that it suddenly became very popular last year and it became many artists' instant favorite medium. Just take note that it has a lot of differences as compared to watercolors, and even with acrylic or oil, it's an opaque medium with a very unique quality that is worth exploring, I say. That's it for now. I hope you enjoy the rest of today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!